You're in the Fieldhouse with the Clack Academy.
All about the ball. Yeah. Tonight, we find a way.
And they knock
A-plus content.
County
Authentic stories.
to be the 7-8
Actionable takeaways.
We're going to attack them like they've never been attacked.
This is the Fieldhouse Podcast.
Coaches, welcome back to another episode of the Fieldhouse Podcast. I'm Coach Tad, and this is our second series of Clack's Corner, where each week we're going to sit down with Coach Clack. We're going to break down Friday night's game, kind of get his thoughts, his feedback on how the game went, who the standout performances were, and look ahead into what's coming up next week. So, Coach Clack, thank you again for taking the time to sit down with us today. How you feeling coming off that big win on Friday night?
Hey, man, it's amazing what a win can do. Obviously, we preach process over results, and, one result, 1 week shouldn't sway, move the needle too much one way or the other. But, we've been at it for 8 months, working our tails off. The boys have bought in from day one. The coaches, year one with everything. Everything's, just a little bit harder, a little more struggle to find rhythm, figure out what's the best recipe to get this group going in the best, preparing in the best way. And, you come off of week one and there was a lot of good things, and obviously a lot of things to clean up. You go into a bye week and you're like, okay, well, we finally, things have been really, really good for these 8 months and everybody's excited. Now we've had real adversity. And I think I was waiting to see how they were going to handle it. And I think they were waiting to see how I was going to handle it. And it was just a very, very direct, hey, these were the problems. These are the things that we can control. We've got to go back to work and work intentionally at those things. And really it goes back to, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and our keys to victory. And these things weren't showing up. These things were. And then now we're assessing our personnel and moving some pieces around. And, they came into that bye week with a great energy, a great focus, a great week of prep. Well, for a bye week to get you ahead a little bit. And then we rolled that into our second week of prep, which was last week. And, I think everybody to a man says this was, obviously we're still not there yet, but it was night and day better preparation from week one to week two. So just for me and again, the strain that we've been putting on this, yes, early in the season, but as you know, football season starts in February when you're January. Yeah. And just wanting it so bad for them to show the fans, to show themselves, to be able to taste that and not have to, come back on another week and like, hey guys, I promise, just keep working. So yeah, man, it was a definite shot in the arm. Obviously things that we're still addressing and cleaning up. So it's now, hey, you showed us this, let's take it to the next level. These are the things we got to focus on now. Be good, but we got to work on, so on and so forth.
Well, I know you're not someone who likes to put yourself on a pedestal, so let me first congratulate you on getting your first win in the Clack era at Parkview. That's a huge accomplishment, and it means you guys are off to a great start. Let me recap real quick the game, just so we can kind of go through it, and that will set up the conversation for today. So Parkview, final score 59-45 in the first quarter. West Forsyth gets up early, 10-0 lead. Parkview comes back 10-7. But West Forsyth then has a 92-yard kick return for a touchdown and follows that up with another touchdown. So they jump to an early 24-7 lead, which we talked about last week. This team showed they don't have a quit, and this is where I thought it was really interesting because the team did not quit. Huge explosive plays coming from your offense, get you guys fighting right back in it. And as we head into halftime, it's 24-31. And going into the second half here, we get some big plays from Jaleel Parham, a 79-yard pass from Greg Hart to tie the game up at 31. We get another 21-yard run from Sterling Dixon, which ties the game up at 38-38. We get another huge run, another huge pass play, 51-yard pass play from Greg Hart to Jaleel Parham, which now gives Parkview the lead, 45-38. And then follow that up with a 55-yard run from Kevin Caldwell to give us the lead of 52-38. And we're not done yet. We still got another 80-yard touchdown run from Zandon Mullins, which gives Parkview the lead of 59-38 and a late touchdown there from West Forsyth gets us to our final score of 59-45. Just huge stats coming out of here. Total offensive yards, 738 offensive yards. I mean, that's just huge. Our third down efficiency, we're at 50% on third down, 67% on fourth down. I mean, let's just start right there. 738 yards. How many times have you coached the games where you got 738 yards in offensive production?
Never. Handful of games in the 600s. And that's kind of where I thought we would be. We were actually kind of kicking it back and forth with the offensive staff. Like, what do y'all think the official stats were? And, I was like, well, this many rushing, this many passing, it can't be 700. So you adjust it, and then you see the official stats come out, and like, holy smokes. Like you said, though, it was just those big explosive plays that just kept coming and kept coming. And, did a great job of putting the boys in good spots, taking what the defense gave. And it was really cool. Zandon is the one who had the gaudiest numbers, but you look back at KJ's numbers of I think, close to 150 yards on like 8 carries, and Sterling Dixon had some great runs as well. And that was what was really cool. We got 3 backs who have 3 distinct styles. And so, kind of like that old thunder and lightning, compliment you'd hear about the old Notre Dame teams. Not maybe necessarily quite like that, but they are 3 distinct runners, and they can spell each other. With Zandon being the bell cow and the other 2 playing a bunch on defense, gives us some great versatility there. And then you got an explosive player like Jaleel that people are going to have to account for. And let's not discredit what Greg Hart does back there. He is all about distributing the ball and taking what the defense does and listening to his coaching, and continues to put our offense in the best spot possible based on what our system requires.
Well, let's talk about what were the big adjustments you guys made coming off of that week 1 loss to get the team ready for this week?
Well, there were 2 huge ones. One was, we've got a handful of really high level players, I think, at least potential wise, and we've got to maximize them. And one of those being JJ Brown. He played a great, game at D line, and he was playing more tight end for us. I mean, he's a 6'6", 260-pound, big athlete, high level basketball player, moves fluidly, so he looks the part of maybe one of those big tight ends. But, I pulled him aside and said, I mean, what impact did you make at tight end this week? And I still think you could play tight end at high school and probably at the next level. But I'm telling you right now, if we can make this move to put you, not only because the team needed it, but it's something that I think would be great service to you. Just go ahead and shift you to left tackle, let you still play some D-line, play some left tackle, simplify the game for you. I think he can really be great for both of us, right? For the team and for you. And he jumped in feet first and has brought just such an energy to the O-line, and it created a ripple effect to not press some young guys who we had to press into action in week 1, freshmen going against seniors, early in the season. I mean, that's tough. That's why it was very hard to get anything going, in the running game week 1. It wasn't like Zandon was doing anything wrong. It's a team sport. Got to have blocking, got to have a passing game, got to be able to run then. So doing that brought a different energy, and we felt it all week. Even just walking down, I remember walking down into inside period and being like, I can close my eyes and tell you this is a different O-line. I hear it. I can hear it. I can sense it. And it was showing up all week. And I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be ready to show up like it did in this game to this effect, but it did. And again, you go back, and if I'm West Forsyth, I'm looking at, okay, well, it's hard for them to run the ball. We're going to make sure we keep a top on the defense and not let guys like Jaleel and Brand and some of these explosive players get behind us. And that's how they started the game. And we had a light box, and we were able to run the ball effectively early, and it got our tempo going. So now we win first down, and boom, we're right back on the ball, right back on the ball, right back on the ball. And we were able to get on them, I think, before they even kind of knew, like, whoa, this is a kind of a different unit than we saw in film. So now they bring safeties down to account, and then that opens up Jaleel, in the passing game. So it really was kind of pick your poison type of thing, and kept it simple. It wasn't, super creative, razzle dazzle things like we just schemed it up. It was just being basic and taking what the defense gave, and you could just see the confidence building, each time they touched the ball. And even though we had those setbacks early, I always say this, man, when you're out, when you can run the football, and run it explosively like that, you can always find a way to stabilize a game. And you feel like you can stay in it. You give your defense a break. You got a chance. You're not going to get back there and just have to drop back and throw and kind of, have that game where it's boom or bust and now it's turnovers and it's negative plays and the defense is right back on. So that's a mouthful, but again, it was a lot of pieces coming together in a short amount of time, really just a bye week and a week of work that we hope is just going to be a jump off point for this offense.
And just touching on JJ, what a testament to to brotherhood, just doing that buy-in and being willing to step up and move to a new position where the need is needed and help give that offensive line a lift. I want to ask you real quick because your third down and fourth down efficiency was great. I think you went for it on third down. Let's see, at 6 third downs, you were 50% on 6 third downs. You went for it 3 times on fourth downs for 67%. What impact did that efficiency have in the game?
Well, that's a debated topic in the coaching world as you look into data and stats and this. And, when people, high third down, got to be great on third down. Well, sure, but nobody's good on 3rd and 8. Nobody. I don't care. I mean, if you're better than 30%, like you're doing something better than most, but 30% ain't great. You got to win first down. You want to win first down. You want to put yourself in third and manageable when you can run the football, whether it be, hey, we threw the ball on first down at 2nd and 10, but we ran the ball and now it's 3rd and 4, or, it's 3rd and 2. You pick those up, or you can pick those up. And then that's where we were. We stayed ahead of the change. We eliminated a lot of the negatives. We had way too many negatives. We eliminated a lot of the pre-snap penalties that plagued us in week 1. So that was another bonus there that we put a lot of emphasis on. So that's why you see, third down's kind of one of those hidden, not a hidden stat, but the success to it sometimes isn't just, they got a really good third down plan. No, a good third down plan is being better on first and second down.
And let's talk a little bit about some of the, we touched on some of the stats, but let's talk about some of that offensive explosion here. So let's go through and let's talk first about your QB, Greg Hart. Incredibly efficient game. He was 15 of 20, 246 yards, 3 TDs, and most importantly, no turnovers this week. Talk about Greg and his performance from this week.
Again, I mean, he has mastered the offense. He truly is the general out there. And there's a lot on his plate. There's a lot of RPO. There's a lot of options. And, sometimes, again, talking about that is what I love is it wasn't, even though he ended up having some pretty nice stats and this and that, but it wasn't his night to show us how good he is throwing the ball and pulling it and doing these things. It was hand the ball off. It was hand the ball off. It was, okay, now they're trying to take it away, spin it out to one of your guys in space. And then those moments where they would give him the opportunity to hit one of those balls downfield, it was in his hands and out of his hands to the right spot. And that's what you want. And, that the idea that the quarterback has to be the superstar and win every game, I'm telling you that's a recipe for disaster. I think a lot of times more so than it is, good, consistent play. You want a quarterback who's more of that point guard out there, who can create and do the things and do it when his number is called, but having the discipline and the maturity to say, you know what, I'm going to hand this ball off, watch an 80-yard touchdown run, throw my hands up and celebrate with them just the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. And let's talk about your 2 running backs here because they obviously had monster games. So Zandon, 28 carries, 326 yards, 3 TDs. KJ, 113 yards. He had a 55-yard TD run. You mentioned it earlier. Talk a little about the balance between that running back core that you have.
Yeah, and then there's a third, with Sterling Dixon. So all those ability to continue to body blow a team with that run game, and when your horse back there gets tired, you don't want to not be able to run the football. So and again, it's not like there's a drop off. KJ's as good of an athlete as there is out there. He's so explosive, runs hard. He's the one that may reverse field. Next thing you know, no, yes. And I tell you, Sterling, I've said this, he has one of the more natural jump cuts. He's kind of that shifty guy, but he's also our inside linebacker. So he's hard to bring down, catches the ball well out the backfield. And Zandon's a complete bag too. So the ability to just keep that tempo up, he's a little tired, give him a break, boom, let's put the other ones in. It just kept us coming at them. And you could see it was in the second quarter when I realized it, like, we already gotten their hands on their knees. There's blood in the water, guys. And when you're playing with tempo, I mean, that's a shot of adrenaline right there.
Yeah.
That's when you put the pedal on the metal right there, or pedal to the metal right there, and just get excited to get the ball back in your hands.
Yeah. And I should mention, Sterling Dixon, he had 38 yards rushing, also had a TD, had a long run for 21 yards. So I don't want to cut him short on his stats. Let's talk about your the passing game. Obviously, we talked about Greg Hart, but on the receiving end, Jaleel Parham, 4 receptions, 159 yards, 2 TDs. Talk about his impact and his leadership on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, well, Jaleel is a corner, a defensive player by trade, if you will. Like, if you asked him, what do you play? If he had said one thing, I'm a corner, and he's a dang good one. And so it gets into one of these kind of, how do you manage this? Because you don't want to steal from your defense, but you're trying to also create the best chance, to win ball games and score points. And I watched him run a route the first time ever. They were doing one-on-one drills. He was covering a guy, and then he turned around, he ran a route. And I swear he's got some of the most natural receiving skills I've ever seen, and we were primarying him on defense and you implementing him on offense. But after game one, we were like, he's got to be on offense enough to where, he can have the full package, and we can move him around, and he can still play defense. And that's a good thing. Not that corner's easy and you don't need to practice it, but it is one of those, it's a little different if you're a safety or you're a linebacker and you've got to deal with all that communication. He needed more time on offense to be able to move him around, so that it's not predictable what we're trying to do with him, because he just gives us such a tool there. Like we said, we're going to, be able to run the football, and then they want to take that away. You're going to have to pick your poison.
Yeah.
So it is all complementary pieces.
Yeah, and I should say we had Greg, had 6 different receivers involved in the passing game, which is great to see that there's a lot of different options out there on the offensive side. One of the things you talk about is complementary football, and so I want to talk a little bit about the defense, because the defense still did give up quite a few points. It gave up 38 points despite the offensive success. What areas on the defense do you think right now you need to focus on and tighten up?
Well, and again, it's a little misleading because there's a third phase. The one that's on the hot seat is the special teams coordinator. That's me. So we have some work to do when it comes to special teams. And I've put a lot of thought into it. And because I've kind of felt it throughout the week, we were having some issues in game one, and just doesn't feel smooth and fluid, but it's because we're asking a lot out of a handful of guys. There's guys who are playing offense. There's guys who are playing defense. They're still learning these new systems, on defense especially. I know that they're still digesting, and that was an issue in week one of, getting lined up, knowing their assignment confidently, and going out and playing. So there's still a lot of brain bandwidth being used up there. But now those same guys got them in a lot of special teams roles. And at some point, just something's got to give. And right now, I think it's been on special teams. So we've been back at it this week, trying to find, guys who are ready to step up, guys who can give a break, but not, put ourselves at jeopardy. Maybe we change some schemes up a little bit to simplify. And instead of, I love to be attacking on special teams and change the game there. But right now, maybe it's, hey, let's play neutral and just don't hurt us and get our defense in good position, get our offense in good position. So as we go through that, you give up a kickoff for a touchdown. That's 7 of those points. You turn the ball over on your first drive on offense. You put them in great field position. Those are 3 points that the defense did a great job of stopping them in the red zone and forcing a field goal. You turn around and you give them up a kickoff return where we didn't field it cleanly. They got the ball again. They're right there on the doorstep. And that's 24 points. And the defense, honestly, had played pretty good football. Right there up until that point. Yeah, the West Forsyth made some plays. Quarterfinal team from last year with a returning quarterback and some good pieces there. I thought there was a huge improvement from week 1 to week 2 with our defense, even though you don't necessarily see it in the points per game. The other piece is this. How many plays did we run?
66.
66. And we were running them fast, man. So that defense is right back on the field. When you start playing with tempo, you essentially create a fifth quarter. And so your defense is back on the field a lot too. And those guys are playing both ways. So, there's a mentality there where you can't get trapped into the metric of judging everything by points per game. What if the game plan was, hey, we really need to slow this thing down. Let's milk the clock a little bit. Let's stay conservative. Let's protect the defense. And we win that thing 10-6. Oh, the offense had a bad game? No, not necessarily. They did what they were asked to do. They helped us win the game by the way we complimented one another.
Yeah.
What I loved about our defense is even though after the sloppy start as a team, they didn't put their heads down. They realized, hey, we were right there. We're making some plays. We're still doing some things and missing some assignments. We're having some after play issues, with some extracurriculars after the play that we addressed very, very directly this week that seemed to come up at the worst times. So again, is it a finished product? Heck no. Is there work to do? Heck yeah. We're asking a lot out of a lot of guys, but I saw a huge improvement there, and guys are starting to communicate better. Guys are starting to fit better. We made them earn it a lot more this week than I felt like in week 1 when it was like, man, that was easy. We didn't even have an edge to our defense, and they just ran on. That was a busted coverage, and there was nobody 20 yards around them. There was way less of that, and these guys are just going to keep getting better and better. I feel it.
I want to talk about some of the leaders on the defense side of the ball. Bryce Carter had a sack, had a tackle for a loss. Lambert and Williams were also leaders on for tackles in the game. If you wouldn't mind speak a little bit kind of on the leadership on the defensive side.
So Bryce Carter, and again, this is a guy who didn't play football last year, big-time baseball player, came to us in July. Same thing with Grant Lambert, came back out in July. They weren't sure if they were going to play. And so that's part of that catching up, but they're on the field, right? So they're showing you that they're good ball players, and they're just going to keep getting better each week. I think Sterling Dixon does a phenomenal job for us, getting some running back duty, but really anchors that middle. We talked about Jaleel and KJ and what they do in the secondary. I thought Brock Simmons had a really good game, and the way that he was coming down as a safety and fitting the edge and playing some good coverage. And then there's another, Jacaden Mobley. He played probably 70-something snaps. He's playing kind of some weak backer, edge rusher there, inside backer on defense. So he's kind of all over the place. But he played our fullback position when we were in our 11 personnel. And he's on a bunch of special teams. He's the one that had the big fake punt where it was stopped, and he goes out the back door. So you're just seeing it, and this is one thing that I love, and kind of going back to the offense. Like, yeah, you can look at the stat line, and some guys may get their flowers and get a little more recognition, but you could go down the list of guys who were stepping up that may have gone unnoticed that just truly made this such a team win. And it's kind of what you love to see there. Kind of could be next man up any given day, any given play. Guys are ready to make plays.
Yeah, and you're taking the next question out of my mouth because I was going to ask you who that unsung hero was. Because in a game like this, the stats kind of jump to the top of the sheet, but it's those unsung heroes that are making plays consistently throughout the night that really make a big difference in the overall outcome of the game.
Yeah, and I would say Jacaden, it was definitely one of those. Played great defense, played phenomenal. I mean, just huge for us in helping the run game go. Also called a touchdown. I think it was our first touchdown out of the backfield. Had the fake punt that we had in our own territory. Probably a lot of people thought I a little crazy for calling that one. But it was just kind of one of those feels of, ready to put this game away. I trust that our defense can get a stop. I trust that we get the ball back quickly. We're going to score. But if we can get this first down right here, and sure we went on to score. And that play was dead in the water. He made chicken salad out of chicken, with that one.
Yeah.
And I couldn't want it for a better young man. I mean, again, you talk about the epitome of vet on our player council since day one. I mean, just does everything. I mean, the only thing we gotta monitor Jacaden on is being too hard on himself, when he feels like he lets us down, and I'm like, hey, bud, it's get back in there, but I love where that comes from, because it truly he wants to please his coaches and do right by his teammates. But I'd be remiss if, the true unsung hero of the entire game was that offensive line. That collective group. They gave me a game ball, for the first win, but that game ball belongs to them.
Yeah.
That is such that I always say it, that the offensive line is the epitome of what football is. It is that faceless group that cannot do it alone. They're never going to get, recognition, the accolades, whatever, but you can't do it without them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's 100% true. And again, kudos to the players who've been willing to step up, JJ, to making that move to the offensive line to help give it the lift that the team needed for this year. For this week. So let's go ahead and look ahead. We've got a very, very tough game coming up here in next week. So Collins Hill is on the schedule. Historically a pretty dominant program. Off to a little bit of a slow start this year, 1-2. But what challenges does Collins Hill present despite their?
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see how it's a second year of a 2-year cycle. So you're playing the same teams as last year. So you got to see they're not the same teams in North Paulding and West Forsyth, but they're similar kind of in their makeup. And then the game got started very similar as it did last year with West Forsyth, as there were some special teams miscues. They got, we got in a hole real quick and weren't able to overcome. So it was kind of cool to see that, measurement from game 1 to game 2 and also a comparison from last year. Well, this week they're very different than the first 2 teams we played. They are loaded with talent across the board. They were preseason, everybody had them as high as top 5, top 6, dark horse to, challenge for, making a run. And who's to say that they're still not there? Every season starts and those teams are not going to be the same as you finish. And that's one of my favorite sayings. The team that walks in here week 1, week 2, week 3, it will not be the same team that walks out. And which way do you want to go with that? So, like you said, they played a Grayson team that's as good as anybody in the country. Okay. They play always a really good, solid team that I think kind of trapped them into one of those, kind of games where they ran out of time as they were starting to figure it out. And then they figured it out last week with Cedar Grove. And you started to see those talented athletes on the D line getting after the quarterback, flying around in the secondary, explosive on offense. So it's going to be fun to see, can our preparation outmatch their talent? And it's going to be, week 3 is a really good week to kind of measure that. You've had your week 1 mistakes, week 4 for them. Had your week 1 mistakes, you kind of clean them up week 2, week 3. And now you see, are we finding some rhythm or are we still teetering back and forth? And I've said that with this group, for months now. Hey, we've been consistently taking a step, 2 steps forward, but then we take that step back. Right? They respond. They bought in from the jump. And every time we've challenged them, they've responded. But then it's like, and then we revert. So now that we've tasted some success, some real success in front of people, is that going to be a shot in the arm? Is that going to be an accelerator, a momentum builder? Or are we still working through those things to where we, get a little complacent, start feeling ourselves? I'll tell you, Monday's practice has come and gone, and I don't feel the complacency setting in. It certainly has not set in with the coaches. I do not see it setting in with the players right now. We had a really good Monday, and I'm excited to come back and have a even better Tuesday and continue to just get better at our week, Monday through Thursday, so that we roll the ball out there on Friday and give our best efforts and give our best foot forward, and then we'll look at the scoreboard when it's all said and done.
Any thoughts on key matchups that we need to look forward to this week?
Well, it's going to go back down to the O-line and the D-line. This is, like I said, by far the most talented D-line. Now, we played good D-lines already. That North Paulding D-line was really good on film. That West Forsyth D-line had problems as well for us, but seeing us kind of being able to rise to that challenge and get rolling, this one is a little different, right? There's, some very highly rated Power 5 type guys across that front. A lot of speed, like I said, in the secondary, so it's going to be hard to get on top of them. And then as we flip it, athletic quarterback, a big offensive line. They want to have a power running game too. So it's a little different than what we've seen, but still the same. To put one in big D lineman and give him the ball, and he's tough to bring down. So I think early on, it's going to feel like a heavyweight bout where guys are going to be trading blows early on, and we're going to see who flinches first. I really believe that can kind of be what this game could look like.
What we're going to wrap up here. So kind of just as you reflect back on week 3, but really your second game of the season, what's one message you're giving your guys? You talked about keeping that momentum going. What's one message you're giving the guys this week to really help keep that momentum going, to keep them focused and ready heading into this week?
Well, it's kind of two, and they're tied together. First one is, as you start to build this, one way I like to look at it, there's a progression, right? Teams have to first learn how to compete. And I think a lot about overcoming adversity. That's the key to competing, being willing to compete, knowing you're going to fail at times. How are you going to respond? Once you get that piece, then you can start working on learning how to win. Well, we've seen twice now that this group has gotten knocked down and they would not lay down. So they've got that compete right. Now we've got to learn how to win. And that was so big for us the other night to fall behind, come back and finish it. But there were moments as we were starting to give momentum that we were doing things to ourselves, whether it be extracurriculars after the play or just, kind of losing our minds in the moment and the substitution error or something like that. That's where you got to learn how to win. You got to be able to handle adversity, and then you have to handle success. And then you got to build on that. And once you learn to do that, then you can learn how to start winning and being a champion, right? And winning at high levels and winning games. People didn't give you a chance to win, right? Consistently over and over and over again. So that is the message that we're talking about right now. And that ties into the next piece, which is focus, which is going to be our theme this week. Focus, making sure that we stay focused on the things that we can control and the things that matter. Everything else, let it fall away. Things that we can control, our reaction to a player, our reaction to a moment. Our understanding of our assignment, getting lined up, staying locked into the game, and not letting one play impact the next play, whether it be my head down and I'm not in it, or whether it be my head way up in the clouds, and now I need to run back out there and do something else. Like I said, these guys are playing offense, defense, and special teams, a lot of them, and that's been a little bit of an issue in weeks 1 and 2. So can we start to clean those things up as we're starting, I feel like, to get our roster, to get some of the players, like I said, in the best spots to put our units together. There's, again, just learning and starting to get more comfortable with their scheme. So you're starting to see that. Now can we put it all together? Can we put it all together? And we got a great opponent to do it against. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the week of work. I'm excited to roll it back out there on Friday night.
Coach, I'm excited for you. You got me fired up. It's been fun to watch the team so far. It's only a couple weeks in, but we see week by week improvement every single week. So, again, congratulations on the win this week. Congratulations on the first win in the Clack era at Parkview. And looking forward to doing this again next week. And hopefully we'll be talking about another win, this time over a really good Collins Hills team. And excited to see how you guys are going to keep that momentum going. So appreciate your time today. And coaches, we'll see you out in the field. Thank you.
Appreciate it.